Aloha, welcome back to Aina Bear Farm. This is the fourth part and last part in our series about the zones on our permaculture farm here on the Big Island of Hawaii. So we've talked about zones 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to combine zones 4 and 5 into this one video because I don't have as much going on in zones 4 and 5 as the others. Here in the aerial map, you can see zones 4 and 5 is the green blob over to the left side of the screen. So it's outside of the black outline, which is the zone 3. And so again, we've got a kind of linear shaped property where it obviously doesn't form concentric circles moving out away from the house in perfect symmetry. But 4 and 5 is clearly the farthest away from our house. And zones 4 and 5 are, very different depending on the different types of properties that you have. And so, we'll talk about that a little bit more as I walk around. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and get you guys some visuals on what our zone 4 and 5 look like. And we'll, just talk about how we use those. So hang tight. All right, so here we are looking back towards zone 3. And as you've maybe seen in previous videos, we've got a pretty obvious end to zone 3 where the Guinea grass has been left alone and where it's been mowed. This is a new area of zone 3, so not a whole lot to look at right now, but this is kind of a more developed area of zone 3 over in this side. And the idea is essentially to just continue the food forest, but less maintenance, more foresty, let it be a little bit more wild. And that's kind of the idea with these zones, is that you're doing less maintenance as you go out. So zone 4 could, in its purest form, would be heavily forested and would be a mix of maybe still some fruit trees, but probably some bigger fruit and nut trees that you are going to let them take full size, not do much maintenance on, and then some timber species or other forest plants that really don't, they're going to be there for a long time before you're doing anything with them. And then zone 5 would be your kind of pure, untouched forest that you really don't do much at all with. So every property is different. Smaller properties, it really doesn't make much sense to have a real zone 4 and 5, just because you're not going to be able to leave aside space for those wilder, untouched areas if you're trying to homestead or do anything commercial. 4 acres is pretty good size. That's the size of the property here, and it certainly, in my mind, could be enough to have a wilder section, and so that is the intention. Now the property line is basically, so we've got these kind of silk oaks here. It's, 50 feet behind the silk oaks. So it runs up, there's a gulch back there, and there's ironwoods, more silk oaks, a little kukui back there. So that's essentially the property line. There's really not much forest material on our side, on our property, aside from those silk oaks, many of which are in pretty bad shape, and I will probably continue to take down and replace them with more native species and things that are a little more useful. So the other thing is, what do you inherit when you come on the property? So in this case, I inherited fields of Guinea grass. This stuff is, useful as a pasture grass. As I kind of pan around, this is the top of the property. You can see a lot of my neighbors, that's all they have. Guinea grass, almost as far as the eye can see. We run cows, horses, sheep, goats. And this property had some cows on it before we came and started shifting it over to forest. So one of the reasons I'm talking about the Guinea grass so much is that there's some areas where you may be able to just take a step back and leave them and they will reforest. And there might be some conditions under which that could happen with Guinea grass, but Guinea grass is pretty invasive. It's a clumping grass, forms like this dense, matted root ball at the soil level, and then very tall grasses that can get, I've seen them get 10 feet high, and then they kind of fall over when we get a lot of rain, and it just sort of mats it further, and then new grass comes up. So it is really hard for anything else to come up in the Guinea grass. I don't know how those silk oaks got there. I don't know if they were planted. They're kind of following this, very linear pattern here. We did have a couple of others that I took out, but it's possible that they were seed grown. And then there's some other quote-unquote invasive species in the gulch, like the, we call it halicoa here, leucaena, and African tulip. And, even those, I have not seen them make any headway in this thick Guinea grass. So that being said, what the plan is to cut little pukas, little holes in the Guinea grass like we've done right here, and start diversifying a little bit. So that's Gliricidia. And, keep some areas mowed with the BCS so that I can get in here and do some things. So here's ice cream bean. And then a little partner tree for that is Iliahi or sandalwood. So they often like to be parked next to a nitrogen fixer. Got another puka here with Gliricidia. And you can kind of see, like, we just have cut these lanes out of the grass. And so for starters, just trying to get some nitrogen fixing, shade producing trees in here that can start kind of changing over the overall conditions. More Gliricidia. Ice cream bean. And there's a little Iliahi down there. And this, we call it ironwood here, but it's not a really good name for it because there's another tree that's like, quote unquote, actually ironwood, but this is Casuarina. It is a nitrogen fixer, but it is very allelopathic. And so as I get a little bit closer, you can kind of tell like nothing else is going to grow in this thicket of Casuarina. And it grows really fast, really dense. It drops these needle-like leaves, and it sheds huge branches in the wind, so it's kind of a dangerous tree. This is the one silk oak that's fairly healthy back here, so I may leave this and just kind of integrate it into what I'm doing. And the long-term plan all the way back here is to put some native species in like koa, koaia, ohia, kolea. And if you've watched our other videos, you've maybe seen that we have some of those plants already in parts of the property, and they're seeding, and we're currently collecting seeds to just expand out. This is loquat. It's just a seed grown. It's a pretty good forest tree in this area. They're highly naturalized. Birds really like the fruit. It's not native, but it seems like a pretty good fit ecosystem wise. More Gliricidia. It's very hard to get things going out here because here you got banana and a Gliricidia, a little partner there. It's really hard to get water out here. You pretty much have to hand carry water to things, and so I've got these pathways that I've been mowing, and the hope is that maybe in the rainy season we'll come and cutaway grass and just tons of pukas in the grass, and plunk in seeds and seedlings of some more nitrogen fixers. And then as we start to get these areas a little healthier for forests, I'll start trying to put in a lot more of the native species, because they're pretty sensitive to just sitting out here in the Guinea grass, and they're susceptible to drought and things like that. Down here all the way back at the fence line, we've got 2 different varieties of giant bamboo, big timber bamboo. Been in the ground about a year and doing pretty well. You can see a nice big stalk that's come up there. This is a cool green striped variety. And then another variety here that is starting to put on some massive new growth, like this guy here. So that's pretty exciting. You know, this will be its own kind of ecosystem down here. Bamboo is a little bit allelopathic as well. Drop a lot of leaf litter and kind of just suppress weeds. And the gulch is not taken care of. It's a neighboring property and it's not managed, and so it's just overgrown with cane grass and other invasive trees. And so I'm kind of, you know, wanting to have a nice healthy forest back here that can stop the spread of any weeds and you know, via seeds and stuff from this side. The wind goes the other way, so it really hasn't been too big of an issue at this point. But it's a hard job to get this area to healthy forest. You can see these not so healthy silk oaks and the Guinea grass just kind of growing right up around them. Probably part of the reason they're not so healthy. And so one idea I have is to cut these down and bury them, do a kind of hugelkultur. And that way, you know, once they soak up water, it will kind of relinquish some of the watering needs of things that I plant out here. And, you know, it's kind of a 2 birds with 1 stone, because I get the trees out of the way, I clear them, I have somewhere to put the debris, and then it helps me with my watering needs. So, as far as like other timber species, like koa is probably the only one that, you know, we may at some point use for timber. But I think we're good with the giant bamboo. I don't see us planting a lot more of that. So yeah, it's really going to mostly be a plan of just trying to get rid of some of the skinny grass, make some space for shifting it over to a forest ecosystem with these nitrogen fixers, and then bringing in plenty of native species, mixing in a few fruit trees here and there. And then hopefully one day I will have a zone 5 that, you know, I don't really have to do anything with. It's just a healthy, sustainable forest. And I'll have a zone 4 that's kind of that nice transition between zones 3 and 5, where I'm still getting a little bit of productivity, but it's pretty much a self-sustaining forest as well. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts or suggestions on how to, you know, best change this over, really. I mean, it's a beast. I'm chipping away little by little, but I'd love it if you have thoughts. I mean, I really don't have the equipment to do any large-scale clearing. I don't have the resources to bring in, you know, like truckloads of wood chips or anything like that. I can make small kind wood chips on my own, but you know, so if you have suggestions that are really kind of like one guy with a low budget, please let me know. And as always, if you have questions, let me know. And I appreciate you guys watching. This will be the end of our zones focus that we've been doing. We'll shift back. Got some other really interesting content I've been thinking a lot about to get out to you. So we'll see you next time here at Ina Bear Farm. Aloha.